So we all know how important spices are to cooking, but organizing your spices can be a little tricky. So Shona's back again, and this time she's using her organizational superpowers to help to get our spices in order. Hey, Shones.
Organizational superpowers, I like that. I think I need that on a t-shirt or something. That works for me. Okay, so let's start with buying spices. Now, Devin just said, you know, how he grinds his spices fresh. I mean, that is cooking goals, but a lot of us aren't doing that just yet. We're getting good at cooking, a lot of you out there, but we're buying spices. And think about the very first thing, what spices expire and when do they expire? Okay, here's the tip. They don't expire.
You've got to be kidding me. You mean the spices that I moved into this house with 10 years ago, like they're okay?
Okay, well, I mean, let's get realistic. They technically don't expire in a sense, generally speaking, that they go like rotten, but what happens to spices is that they lose flavor and they lose, you know, their fullness over time. So you definitely need to get rid of those spices that have been hanging around for 10 years. And if they've been hanging around for 10 years, you're not using them, so they gotta go. So, how do you buy your spices? So if you're someone who buys them in bulk, like I said, you think about how much you're going to use in particular spices. If you burn through, I don't know, garlic powder, okay, then maybe buy that one in bulk. But if you use something like rosemary, I don't know, that just popped in my head, rosemary only once in a while, then don't buy it in bulk because you're not going to use it, and again, it'll lose its potency and it won't give you the best cooking results that you can have. So there's a time and place when it comes to bulk containers, but just think about it and what you're doing. If you do want to buy in bulk, here's a tip. If you bring your container to the store, you can weigh your container and then you take it, you fill it with the spice that you want, or this goes for anything that they sell. They come back, weigh it, and they'll see what the difference is, and you only get charged for the spice inside. I just think that is such a great idea that they've done that, and it's really environmentally friendly.
It'll make us all a little bit more efficient, so that's a really smart rule.
Yeah, I think so too. So let's get to the containers now. What to look for when you're buying your spice holders. Listen, if you're buying your spices in those pretty glass jars, you know, that the grocery stores have, maybe you don't need to put them into a different container. Like, they're labeled nice, they look so pretty nowadays. If you buy those all matching, I mean, you're speaking my language. But I do like to buy, I cook a lot, so I buy my spices in bulk. So I love to look for all the cute containers. So this is a favorite of mine, this little set here. This one came from IKEA. A couple of these jars came from IKEA. They're great, but I want you to look outside of the spice area. There are containers and holders for everything. What you primarily want to look for is glass. Try not to store your spices long-term in plastic or anything else that will breathe. And you also want ones that close tight. Air is something that will take away the potency of your spices even quicker. So if they're on display, that will also affect how long your spices will last, because light affects spices. So in an ideal world, you want to store them, you know, in a cupboard or something. Now listen, I love pretty things on display, and if you want to have a pretty spice display just to make your kitchen beautiful, then you go nuts and you just keep it there, and then you can go ahead and do that, and then have other ones for your others. So one thing I also want to tip out when you're picking a jar, think how you're going to use it. If you have a small little mouth on the jar and a tablespoon won't fit in it, is that for you? And then when it comes to labeling, you can pull out your label maker, you can make them on your computer, you can order them from Etsy. There's some stunning labels out there, but this label right here doesn't get any easier. It was just yellow masking tape and a marker. So to get organized and to get tidy and get those things ready for you to grab when you're cooking, it doesn't take a lot of work, just takes a little bit of